The moment Allah removes someone from your life, the air around you changes, but you don't notice it at first. You feel the loss, the shock, the sudden emptiness, and your heart immediately goes into panic mode. You reach out, you try to hold on, you try to fix what was never yours to fix. But listen carefully, because this is the moment that decides your future. When Allah removes someone, it is never random. It is never without purpose. It is never without protection. And the biggest mistake you can make is chasing what Allah has already pulled away from your path. You feel the urge to run after them, to apologize for things you didn't do, to negotiate your worth with someone who never recognized it, to keep a connection that Allah Himself severed. You think losing them means losing everything. You think they were the blessing. You think their absence is the disaster. But what if the real disaster was their presence? What if the real test is not the loss, but your attachment? What if your heart became tied to them tighter than it was tied to Allah? And Allah, in His mercy, cut that rope before it strangled you. There are people Allah removes not because they are bad in the obvious sense, but because they are wrong for your soul, wrong for your growth, wrong for your destiny. Sometimes they were your comfort, but comfort can be dangerous when it becomes a distraction. Sometimes they were your motivation, but motivation can be poisonous when it pulls you away from Allah. Sometimes they were your love, but love can become idolatry when it occupies the place that belongs only to God. You think the separation is punishment, but what if it is divine surgery? What if Allah is pulling out something harmful from your life and you are holding on to the poison asking why it hurts? There are moments in life where Allah says enough. Enough of the pain disguised as affection. Enough of the mixed signals disguised as loyalty. Enough of the inconsistency disguised as effort. Enough of the delays disguised as destiny. Allah sees the conversations you ignore, the attitudes you justify, the red flags you excuse, the late nights you cry, hoping they will change. Allah sees what you don't. Allah knows what they say behind your back, what they hide in their heart, what they would do to your future. Allah knows where their path leads, and He knows where yours must go. And sometimes the paths must divide no matter how tightly you try to hold them together. You pray for clarity and Allah gives it. You pray for peace and Allah brings it. You pray for love and Allah removes the person you think is love so He can replace them with the one who truly is. But in that moment, in that emptiness, in that heartbreak, you start chasing what was meant to leave. You start running after someone who was gently pushed out of your life by the one who loves you more than you can understand. Your heart screams, go after them. Your soul whispers, stay where Allah placed you. And this is where you must choose. The temporary attachment or the eternal wisdom. The fleeting emotion or the decree of the most merciful. The familiar face or the unseen future Allah prepared for you. There are people whose exit is the beginning of your healing. Their departure is the doorway to your elevation. Their absence is the space needed for a better blessing to arrive. But you don't see it yet because all you see is loss. All you see is the empty space where they used to be. You keep replaying memories, rewriting conversations, rebuilding fantasies of a future that was never written for you. You blame yourself, but not everything ending is your fault. Sometimes things end because Allah says your soul deserves better. Your future deserves better. You deserve better. You tell yourself you can fix it. You tell yourself maybe if you try harder they will stay. But understand this, if Allah has removed them, your effort is not loyalty, it is disobedience. It is not love, it is attachment. It is not faith, it is fear of being alone. Fear of starting again. Fear of trusting Allah's replacement more than your own desire. Allah does not give you a heartache without purpose. Allah does not close a door without opening another. Allah does not remove someone without preparing something greater. But greatness cannot enter a room filled with what was meant to leave. Healing cannot begin while you chase what harmed you. Peace cannot settle in a heart still begging for chaos. When Allah removes someone, let them go. Not because you are heartless, not because you don't care, but because you trust Allah more than your emotions. Because you believe Allah writes better stories than the ones you try to force. Because you know that the one who created your heart knows exactly who belongs in it. Some people leave because Allah is protecting you from what your love blinds you to. Some leave because their role in your story is complete. Some leave because staying would break you in ways you could not recover from. Some leave because they prayed for something you were not part of. And some leave because Allah is preparing them for something that does not involve you. And all of this is okay. Not comfortable, not easy, but okay. Letting go is not failure. Surrender is not weakness. Trusting Allah is not losing. It is choosing the author over the chapter. It is choosing the wisdom of heaven over the noise of your emotions. It is choosing the path Allah cleared for you instead of the path you try to carve with tears. And here is the truth you fear to admit. The person you are chasing may already be someone Allah is protecting from you. Not because you are bad, but because your paths no longer align, because your destiny and theirs are being shaped separately, because what will grow you would break them, and what will build them would hurt you. Allah separates souls for reasons deeper than human understanding. You keep saying you can't live without them, but Allah is the one who gave you life before they arrived. You think your world is collapsing, but Allah is rebuilding it around a new design. You think the loneliness is punishment, but loneliness is often the silent classroom where Allah teaches you who you truly are. You are not losing. You are transitioning. You are not abandoned. You are redirected. You are not rejected. You are protected. Sometimes Allah removes someone because your heart deserves to breathe again. Because your soul deserves to rest again. Because your mind deserves clarity again. Because your life deserves to move again. And Allah will not allow anyone to hold your destiny hostage. Not even someone you love deeply. Stop asking Allah why they left. Start asking Allah what this departure is making room for. Stop chasing the temporary. Start preparing for the permanent. Stop begging creation. Start trusting the Creator. Stop forcing the door. Start walking the path Allah cleared. Because if Allah took them out of your life, they were part of your past, not your future. And your future is waiting. And you have to understand this deeply. When Allah removes someone, He is not taking away your happiness. He is taking away your illusion. That person was not the source of your peace. They were the distraction from the one who gives peace. You thought they were the reason you smiled. But the truth is your smile came from Allah. And they were simply present when Allah allowed joy to reach you. You gave them credit for blessings that were never theirs to give. And sometimes Allah removes a person simply to reclaim His place in your heart. Your heart is a sacred space. Not everyone is meant to live in it. Not everyone deserves a seat there. Not everyone can handle the weight of your compassion, your loyalty, your sincerity, your depth. Some people come into your life with shallow intentions and your deep heart sinks trying to carry. When Allah removes them, He is not punishing you. He is uninstalling what was never compatible with your spirit. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels like betrayal. Yes, your chest tightens when you remember them. Yes, your soul still reaches for them in quiet moments. But pain does not mean Allah was wrong. Pain is simply the echo of attachment. And attachment fades as trust grows. You have to choose whether you believe in the pain or the promise. Whether you believe in the loss or the Lord who decreed it. Whether you believe in the temporary person or the eternal wisdom behind their exit. There are people whose presence delays your blessings. Their energy blocks your progress. Their company lowers your standards. Their words weaken your confidence. Their behavior damages your trust. Wow. Their absence is actually your opportunity to step into the next stage of your life. But you don't see that when you're emotionally invested, you only feel the separation, not the salvation. You only feel the break, not the breakthrough. You only feel the loss, not the liberation. And this is where Allah tests the maturity of faith. Can you trust Him when your heart is trembling? Can you surrender when everything in you wants to hold on? Can you believe that Allah took someone away because He wants to bring someone better? Not just better in appearance or personality or feelings, but better for your soul, better for your destiny, better for your akhirah. Because here is a truth most people never admit. Not every love that feels good for your soul. Not every person who makes your heart race helps your heart rise. Not every connection that feels intense leads to something meaningful. Some connections are storms disguised as warmth. Some are tests disguised as comfort. Some are distractions disguised as love. Allah sees every intention. Allah knows every secret. Allah hears every silent thought. Allah knows who would break you in ways you couldn't recover from. Allah knows who would pull you away from Him slowly, softly, gently, without you realizing until it's too late. Allah knows the friendships that would poison your faith. Allah knows the relationships that would destroy your self-respect. Allah knows the people who smile at you, but carry envy inside their hearts. Allah knows the ones who admire you publicly, but resent your blessings privately. Allah knows the ones whose love shifts depending on what you offer them. And Allah says, no, not for my servant. Not for the one who prays to me in the darkness. Not for the one who cries to me when they are alone. Not for the one whose heart I guard. not for the one whose destiny I shape. So he removes them. Quickly, suddenly, or slowly, but surely. And you stand there confused, hurt, questioning the timing, the reason, the wisdom. But Allah is not removing a person. He is removing a threat. Sometimes people leave your life because their loyalty expired. Sometimes because their sincerity was an act. Sometimes because their character didn't match their words. Sometimes because their role in your story finished. Sometimes because your growth intimidated them. Sometimes because Allah wrote their exit into your destiny long before they ever arrived. And you think it's random? No, nothing is random with Allah. Life is a journey of souls crossing paths, separating, meeting again, or disappearing forever. Not everyone who walks with you is meant to stay with you. Not everyone who sits at your table is meant to eat from your blessings. Not everyone who listens to your pain is meant to heal it. Some people are temporary doors. Some are detours. Some are lessons, and very few are destinations. You must learn to differentiate between who is meant to stay and who is meant to pass through. When Allah removes someone, He is telling you clearly, this one is not part of the destination. This one served a purpose, and that purpose is complete. Let them go. You have to remind yourself again and again that Allah does not operate on your emotions. He operates on truth, wisdom, and destiny. What you feel today is not the measure of what is good for you. What you desire in the moment is not the measure of what your soul needs. Sometimes your heart begs for what your destiny rejects, and Allah, in His infinite mercy, refuses to let you build your life on a foundation that will eventually collapse beneath you. You don't realize how many nights you cried asking Allah to guide you, to protect you, to remove what harms you, to bring what's best for you. Then when Allah removes the person, you call it heartbreak. But heartbreak is often the disguise of answered dua. If Allah showed you what He saved you from by removing that person, you would fall into sujood out of gratitude. But that is the difficulty of being human. You feel the separation more than the salvation. You feel the emptiness more than the protection. You feel the loss more than the blessing that's on its way. Your heart expects the person to be your safety. Allah expects Himself to be your safety. And when the heart leans too heavily toward creation, Allah redirects you back to Him. That redirection feels painful because attachments feel like identities. When someone leaves, it feels like you are losing a part of yourself. But you are actually losing the version of you that depended on them instead of depending on Allah, and that is growth. Growth is not pretty. Growth is not comfortable. Growth is not easy. Growth requires separation from what stunts you. Growth requires breaking old patterns. Growth requires saying goodbye to the familiar to reach the extraordinary. Growth requires trusting Allah more than your fear. You keep imagining what could have been. Allah keeps preparing what will be. You keep replaying memories. Allah keeps writing new ones. You keep thinking the best days were with them. Allah keeps designing better days without them. Your vision is limited by emotion. Allah's vision is limitless, timeless, perfect. And Allah knows when a person's departure is the beginning of your healing. He knows when the relationship has become a cage instead of companionship. He knows when your soul is dimming because you're trying to keep someone who is not meant for your light. He knows when your future needs to be protected from their presence. Allah never removes without replacing. He never takes without giving. He never closes without opening. He never shuts without unlocking something greater on the other side. But your heart cannot grasp greater when it is still begging for what was lesser. You keep collecting the pieces of the connection, hoping you can rebuild it, but Allah broke it for a reason. What Allah breaks, you are not meant to rebuild. You are meant to learn. You are meant to rise. You are meant to move. There are people in your life who are meant to help you reach certain stages, not all stages. Their season in your life was never intended to last forever. They taught you everything they were meant to teach you. They gave you what they were meant to give. Their chapter ended. You are still trying to drag them into the next chapter, even though Allah already erased their name from it. You must stop confusing attachment with destiny or attachment with destiny. Just because you grew attached to someone doesn't mean they were your destination. Some attachments are tests, not gifts. Some attachments are distractions, not blessings. Some attachments are detours, not guidance. And Allah removes them to put you back on the path He chose for you long before they arrived. You think the path is lonely now, but loneliness is not abandonment. Loneliness is recalibration. It is the space your heart needs to cleanse itself from the emotional noise you carried. It is the silence your soul needs to hear yourself again. It is the pause your life needs to reset everything inside you. When you walk alone after a loss, you walk lighter than you realize. The weight you carried for months, maybe years, begins to lift. Slowly at first, then suddenly. You begin to notice how much of yourself you dim to match their energy. How much of your potential you buried to keep them comfortable. How much of your dreams you paused to prioritize theirs. Of your worth you compromised to keep them satisfied. And Allah in His mercy says no more. You deserve a connection that doesn't require you to shrink. You deserve companionship that doesn't require you to break. You deserve someone who sees you without you having to explain yourself. Someone who values your sincerity. Someone who respects your boundaries. Someone whose actions match their words. Someone who brings you closer to Allah, not closer to confusion. But before such a person enters your life, you must be free. Free from the ones who are not meant to stay. Free from the weight of disappointment. Free from the grip of your past. Free from the cycle of chasing people who never chose you with certainty. Sometimes Allah removes someone because He knows your heart would never leave on its own. He knows you would stay longer than necessary. He knows you would keep accepting fragments, hoping they would eventually give you the whole. He knows you would keep defending their behavior even when it slowly destroys your peace. He knows you would keep settling just to avoid starting over. So Allah starts over for you. Oh. And the beginning doesn't look like a blessing. It looks like a wound. It looks like silence. It looks like unanswered messages. It looks like distance. It looks like someone you thought was forever suddenly becoming a stranger. But the wound is not the end, it is an opening. The silence is not punishment, it is protection. The distance is not rejection, it is redirection. The unanswered messages are not humiliation, they are liberation. One day you will look back and realize the moment they left was the moment your life began to align. The moment your heart broke was the moment your spirit started breathing again. The moment you cried was the moment Allah opened a door you were too distracted to see. One day you will understand the wisdom behind every unanswered dua. One day you will thank Allah for saying no to what you begged for, but today, right now, you are in the middle of the storm. This is the phase where you trust without seeing, the phase where you surrender without understanding, the phase where you walk forward even though your heart wants to run back. This is where Allah watches what you choose, the pain of the past or the promise of the future, the one who left or the one who never leaves, the temporary presence or the eternal guidance. And Allah always rewards the one who chooses Him. You cannot chase someone who is running from your destiny. You cannot force someone to stay in a story Allah wrote them out of. You cannot hold on to someone whose heart was never tied to yours by Allah. You cannot beg for someone whose presence dimmed your light. You cannot lower yourself to keep someone at the level you outgrew. You were made for more. You were designed for more. And sometimes Allah removes someone to remind you of your worth. Stop reading back into a chapter that ended. Stop watering connections Allah uprooted. Stop aligning yourself with people who misaligned your spirit. Stop seeking validation from people who could not even validate themselves. Stop chasing someone who was never running toward you. Allah removed them because your heart deserved peace it could not find with them. Because your life deserved clarity it could not breathe in their presence. Because your soul deserved healing that their energy would never allow. What is meant for you will never require you to chase it. What is written for you will never run away. What is destined for you will always return with ease, not anxiety. Let the person go. Let the past go. Let your attachment go. Let the chapter close. Let your heart breathe. Let your soul heal. Let Allah's plan unfold. Because when Allah removes someone, it is not a loss. It is the beginning of everything you prayed for in silence.